There has been growing frustration among conservative voters about Donald Trump. They are all asking the question, where are the Epstein Files? Jeffrey Epstein ran a sex trafficking operation for the rich and powerful. He died under mysterious circumstances in his prison cell in 2019 before he could be brought to trial. In 2022, his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But we still know surprisingly little about Jeffrey Epstein's operation. Even though Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking minors, not a single person has been charged who those victims were actually trafficked to. It's almost like the government is trying to protect these people. This has caused outrage among the public, especially since during the Biden administration, they put so much effort into prosecuting Republicans for political reasons. Why would they arrest ordinary Americans while protecting people who did really horrible things to children? This is one of the reasons that people elected Donald Trump. People want some sense that justice is being done for these really horrible crimes. But Donald Trump has been in office for over a month, and we still know very little about Jeffrey Epstein. I want to walk through this because I think most people are misremembering history. Donald Trump has never been fully on board with releasing the Epstein Files. During the campaign, he did an interview with Fox News where he said this.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Yeah. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would.
So Trump hedges his response about releasing the full Epstein files. It's more along the lines of, we'll take a look at it. I think Trump realizes how damaging this information can be, and he wants to take a measured approach. Personally, I think this is smart. You really don't want to hurt innocent people in this process. Imagine you're a celebrity, and you got an invitation to an Epstein party, and you might not have known who he was, so you went to this party. And then you saw, oh, this is a creepy sex party with children. Now, a decent person would have left the party and never come back. So the Epstein list probably includes a lot of names of decent people who were unfairly caught up in all of this. It's not really fair for Trump to put the full list of names out to the public and destroy people's lives that didn't really have anything to do with what was going on. What Trump really needs to do is separate out the decent people from the actual criminals. Who were the people who would keep coming back to Epstein's Island over and over again? Those are the people who should be prosecuted and held accountable for their crimes. I think Trump knows this, and he wants to take a more measured approach at releasing information from the Epstein files. But the reason that people expect a full release of the files is because of Kash Patel. This is an important point to understand. Kash Patel is more radical than Donald Trump on the topic of Jeffrey Epstein. Here's Kash Patel during the election.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts.
Kash Patel says that the FBI director has full control of the Epstein list. And he has said on multiple occasions that if Donald Trump gets elected, he will release the list on day one. He mentioned Epstein specifically in his confirmation hearing.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
So I think it is clear that there's a difference between Kash Patel's opinion and Donald Trump's opinion, and Donald Trump wants to take a more measured approach. Then Donald Trump gets elected, and he appoints Pam Bondi to be the new Attorney General of the United States. She does multiple interviews talking about the Epstein Files.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. When can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
On February 27th, Pam Bondi released what she called the Epstein Files Phase 1. The White House invited a small group of conservative influencers and handed them all white binders full of information. This was the first time Pam Bondi mentioned they were not going to release all the files, but instead they were going to do it in phases. Then when people online started seeing the contents of the binders, they quickly realized that there was nothing really there. Here's a good explanation.
The binder of transparency, except come to find the information in this binder is already online. For example, here's a screenshot from a page in that binder. A lot of the information has been redacted. Here's that same page of names, already online, unredacted. Here they are side by side, redacted, unredacted. This is what was in the binder. This is what was already available online. So today we kind of went backwards. Not ideal for the administration, to say the least, that was probably hoping to use this issue to prove how transparent they are.
So Pam Bondi released information that was already available online. They did not actually release anything at all. This comes across as a giant lie to the American people. When people started to voice their frustration online, the same day, Pam Bondi posted this letter to explain what happened. She says that when she came into office, she asked for the Epstein files and was given 200 pages of documents. When she asked if there was anything else, she was repeatedly told there was nothing. Then a whistleblower told her that the New York FBI field office was holding thousands of pages of documents. She wrote this letter to Kash Patel demanding that the FBI turn over the documents and to start an investigation into why her orders were not followed. The next day, the head of the New York FBI field office was asked to resign, and he announced his retirement a few days later. It does not surprise me at all that the New York FBI were hiding documents. Of course there were more files. If you remember, when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, it was reported that they found diamonds, cash, passports, CDs, and hard drives after cracking open safe in 2019 raid on Epstein's Upper East Side townhouse. Here's a photo of a bin of hard drives they found. Here's a drawer with more hard drives and CDs. What was on those hard drives? Here's a photo of a shelf of binders in Epstein's mansion. The labels of the binders have been redacted. I wonder what was written on those binders. But more importantly for Pam Bondi, if the FBI found all this stuff, where is it? Where are the binders? Where are the CDs? Where are the hard drives?
A source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah.
So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Kash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, we're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein, because there are a lot of victims.
So Kash Patel now has more documents and is going through them. But do they include all the documents in the photos I just showed you? There was no mention of hard drives, so it doesn't sound like they turned over everything. People became even more concerned when Pam Bondi said this.
What are the things that, and maybe some people don't understand the need to redact. In the case of a victim, that should be pretty obvious to people. What are the other things that maybe you'd have to redact?
Well,
national security?
No, of course. National security, some grand jury information, which is always going to be confidential.
National security information? Why are they redacting national security information? What does a sex trafficking case have to do with national security? Does that mean that Jeffrey Epstein was working for the CIA? Does it mean that other foreign governments were involved to entrap and blackmail Americans? Does it mean that the people on the Epstein list include high-ranking U.S. government officials? If any of that is true, why is the Trump White House hiding this information from the American people? What is even more infuriating is this interview that Pam Bondi did 1 year ago talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
I want to know why AG Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. They're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
Now that Pam Bondi is on the job, she is doing the same thing she was criticizing from the previous administration. Social media has exploded with hateful comments about Pam Bondi demanding her resignation. I'm going to show you one example. I apologize in advance for the swear words, but I think it's important to understand how angry people are about this.
I saw them put thousands and thousands of Trump supporters in prison. The vast majority were put in prison on pure bullshit. So if our side, Pam Bondi, cannot put Democrats in prison for real shit that they really did, then she's a failure. Now, she hasn't started yet. She just got confirmed. But I'm just saying, we will not tolerate any of this Bill Barr bullshit. We're not doing that shit again. You need to put these motherfuckers in prison. Put these motherfuckers in prison where they belong. Because they didn't try to put Donald Trump in prison like 5 fucking times. Indicted him like 4 or 5 fucking times. Raided his home. They try to put all of us in prison. They put all of us in jail. And then they try to put us all in prison. All of us J6ers. And they hunted down all these Trump supporters for other stuff too. Thousands of us for years. So no, we're not doing this. Oh, just be calm, just be patient, just wait. No. Fuck you. Fuck that bullshit. Put them in prison. We're not tolerating anything less than that. Put the motherfuckers in prison.
Here are my thoughts on all of this. I think everyone should calm down. I think Pam Bondi was set up to look like a fool. I think she came into her job, she asked for the Epstein files, she was given the 200 pages of documents, and I am betting those people never told her that the information was already available online. I think they set her up to be embarrassed because they are trying to get rid of her. And everyone getting upset online is getting tricked by the deep state. They are trying to turn us against each other. Imagine if you start at a new job and all your coworkers hate you and are trying to get you fired. And everyone on the internet is challenging you. Why aren't you getting this done? Why aren't you getting that done? This criticism against Pam Bondi is not fair. Let's give her a break. The reason I am so confident about this is because the person in Trump's administration that I trust more than anyone else is Kash Patel.
And by the way, I'm talking from a standpoint of I've never spoken to Kash. and I don't know the relationship. He's more educated on that to be able to comment on it. I know you and Kash have done great podcasts together and great conversations together, but I think that
Kash has been there for a long time for Trump. He's been through the fire with Trump. He trusts Kash Patel.
I think Kash Patel is fighting to release this information. If we're honest about this whole situation, it's really Kash Patel's fault. He made a mistake of promising us he would release the Epstein list on day one. What did he think was going to happen? Did he think he was just going to walk into the FBI and they were going to hand over all their incriminating secrets? Of course not. It was never going to happen, and it was a mistake for him to promise that. He should not have gotten everyone's hopes up. The other thing we have to remember is that Donald Trump hired Dan Bongino to work as Kash Patel's deputy FBI director. I also trust that Dan Bongino will do the right thing.
I tweeted and put on True Social this morning something very important. I said, if you saw what I saw going on behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen, you would be absolutely convinced the police state is here. The left is right now. They're not wrong. The left is evil. I need you to understand that there's a difference here. It's not just that they're wrong on politics. They are evil. What the hard left is up to with tyranny, censorship, and the weaponization of government, there is no talking sense into these people anymore. I need you to understand that. What we're living through now is pure evil. This is the 12-step program to tyranny, gulags, police state censorship, weaponization, and what's next gets even uglier. They are not stopping. These people are crazy, deranged madmen. You need to understand what you're dealing with. They will not stop.
I have got to say, if I were one of these people in the FBI who is trying to hide evidence, I would be scared right now. Can you imagine Dan Bongino coming into your office to find out what is going on? He is not going to be messing around. But we have to keep in mind that Donald Trump never promised he was going to give us the Epstein Files anyway. He said he was going to look into it. He's doing exactly what he promised. He's looking into it. People on the internet need to make sure they don't have the wrong expectations here. I want to see the documents just as much as everyone else. But if we are not nice to Trump, he's not going to let us see anything. So I think we should be nice to Pam Bondi, let her do her job, and let them work towards releasing more information when they are able. Keep in mind, this is not the only thing Pam Bondi is working on. She has a lot of other priorities that are more time sensitive than the Epstein Files. She has to deal with all the legal issues of Trump's administration. She has to sue all the sanctuary cities that are fighting Trump's efforts to deport illegal immigrants. She has to prosecute all the fraud that Elon Musk is finding with Doge.
The things that they've discovered is how Social Security numbers have been used, and these are for dead people that are over 115 years old, and how basically criminals have been able to take these Social Security numbers, and we're able to get things like small business loans. We're able to get all types of money taken from federal government programs and basically stolen it all.
Guess who has to prosecute all those cases? Pam Bondi. Then she has to represent Trump in all the lawfare cases the Democrats are filing every time Trump signs an executive order. Plus, she has to deal with the personnel issues of the people in her own office trying to sabotage her. She has an overwhelming amount of work to do, and I believe she is doing her best. I want to show you something that a lot of people have missed. In the middle of all this chaos, Pam Bondi filed this statement of interest with the Colorado courts in the case of Tina Peters. In case you don't know who Tina Peters is, she was convicted in an outrageous case. Tina Peters created a forensic image of a Dominion voting machine after a 2021 municipal election in order to maintain evidence in case there was voter fraud or election cheating. The Democrat politicians in the state claim she was violating election laws by making copies of the machine, and she was convicted on 7 out of 10 charges and sentenced to 9 years. The Democrats are punishing her because she was questioning Colorado's election results. Since this was a state court, the Trump administration cannot pardon her. But Pam Bondi's legal filing shows the federal government is looking into the case for abuses of the criminal justice process. Pam Bondi's review is going to evaluate whether the case was oriented more toward inflicting political pain than toward pursuing actual justice or legitimate governmental objectives. Donald Trump didn't have to pursue this. This is a state case. He could have just ignored it and moved on. But he didn't. I think this shows that Donald Trump and Pam Bondi's priorities are in the right place. Tina Peters' case is important, and I hope that the miscarriage of justice in her case is corrected. So I think that Pam Bondi will deliver more Epstein documents with some more time. But I think the documents are not what people really want anyway. People want prosecutions. They want to see people go to jail for their crimes. Elon Musk recently went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I think he really understands what people want.
I think Pam Bondi is actually great, and Kash Patel are great, but they just got there, Right. So then they just got there, but they're in a hostile environment. They're not in a friendly environment.
Right.
It's like if you suddenly got put in captain of a ship, but the crew was previously your enemy.
Right.
The entire crew was previously your enemy. But yeah, I think the public will be rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all. Like at least, I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number. There should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
So if Pam Bondi arrested, say, the worst 5 offenders, that's going to take some time. She has to put together a whole case to file in court. That should be the real goal here. So I'm okay if she's focusing on that. Getting actual justice in court should be more important than releasing the Epstein files to the public. The only problem with this approach is this. What are we going to do if the worst 5 offenders include some really powerful people? Now, I do have some issues with what Pam Bondi is doing that no one is talking about. She's acting like she's now received all the documents, but I don't think that's true. I think the FBI still has not turned over all the evidence. Here's why. Where is Anthony Weiner's laptop? That should contain valuable evidence about these Jeffrey Epstein cases. If you remember, Anthony Weiner was married to Huma Abedin, who was the deputy chief of staff to Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. Anthony Weiner was being investigated by the FBI for sexting with an underage girl. The FBI seized Anthony Weiner's iPhone, iPad, and laptop computer. When they were looking for evidence of sexting, they discovered that the laptop had over 100,000 emails related to a separate investigation that Hillary Clinton had illegally used a private email system to hide her communications while she was Secretary of State. This was so shocking because people thought those emails had been destroyed. When Hillary Clinton was asked whether she had wiped her email server to destroy evidence, she made a joke of it.
I believe that you tried to wipe the entire server. Did you try to wipe the entire, so that there be no email, no personal, no official?
Well, my personal emails are my personal business, right? So we went through a painstaking process and turned over 55,000 pages of anything we thought could be work-related. Under the law, that decision is made by the official. I was the official. I made those decisions.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something? Well, no. I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any. Ed, I know you want to make a point, and I can just repeat what I have said. In order to be as cooperative as possible, we have turned over the server. They can do whatever they want to with the server to figure out what's there or what's not there. That's for the people investigating it to try to figure out. But we turned over everything that was work-related, every single thing.
But it turns out that she did wipe the server with a powerful computer software called BleachBit.
To Washington, D.C. now, where former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton cannot seem to extinguish a growing firestorm over her emails. And tonight it seems to be getting worse. There are new allegations that she didn't just delete tens of thousands of those emails from her personal account, she wiped the server clean.
If Hillary Clinton really is telling the truth, and there was nothing on the server besides personal emails, why would she use BleachBit to wipe the server clean? That seems pretty suspicious. So when the FBI found an archive of Hillary Clinton's emails stored on the laptop of Anthony Weiner, this was big news. It is possible that these emails also contain evidence related to Jeffrey Epstein. There could be flight logs and travel plans for high-powered government officials going to Jeffrey Epstein's island. But Hillary Clinton's emails were not the only thing on the laptop. There has been a rumor circulating online about something called Frazzled.rip. Now, I have no way of confirming whether this is true or not, but you should at least know what the rumor is. This information has allegedly come from anonymous sources from within the New York Police Department, but there is no way to confirm this. Allegedly, there was a folder on Anthony Weiner's laptop labeled Life Insurance. In this folder was a video file people refer to as Frazzled.rip. The video allegedly shows Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin sexually assaulting and murdering a young girl, drinking her blood, and taking turns wearing the skin from her face as a mask. Shortly after the laptop was seized, 9 police officers who had reportedly seen the file were so horrified that they were driven to suicide. These claims have been fact-checked by the mainstream media. All the fact-check websites claim this rumor is not true, and it is all just a conspiracy. They claim that the video has not been made public, so it cannot be verified. They also claim the FBI took the evidence, not the local police, and so therefore the local police were completely unrelated. They also point out that no police officers have officially made any statements to corroborate this story. Personally, I think these fact checks provide a really weak explanation. Of course no one has come forward, because they are probably scared that someone is going to murder them and make it look like a suicide. The FBI may have taken the evidence, but it is also true that the FBI often works with local law enforcement whenever they do a raid on a location. I think it is a good possibility that those cops did see what was on the laptop. And it is a fact that there was a sudden, unexplained spike in police suicides in New York at that specific time, with 9 police officers who died.
Some sad news tonight. Another New York City police officer has taken his life. The second NYPD suicide in 2 days. The police commissioner has declared a mental health crisis in his department, and he spoke today with our Jeff Pegues.
Robert Echeverria died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound at home last night. The 25-year veteran officer's suicide came a little more than 24 hours after a 35-year-old officer took his own life. So far this year, there have been 9 NYPD suicides, 7 since June. Last year, there were a total of 4.
It is statistically very strange to have this sudden rise in police suicides all at the same time. Do you remember someone named Sidney Powell? She was the lawyer who was challenging the results of the 2020 election. She has been viciously attacked and smeared and prosecuted. But I don't think the attacks against her were motivated by her work on the election. I think she was targeted because she was speaking out about Anthony Weiner's laptop.
So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up.
Again, I cannot say whether any of these rumors are true. What I do know is true is that we have to get Anthony Weiner's laptop. All these people online who are getting worked up over Pam Bondi's Epstein binders are missing the bigger issue. Where is Anthony Weiner's laptop? That is what we should be getting upset about. The other reason why I don't think Pam Bondi received all the Jeffrey Epstein files is that there has been no mention of the autopsy records. Where are the autopsy records for Jeffrey Epstein? A lot of people question the autopsy findings that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. But I think there's an even bigger question. Was the dead body even Jeffrey Epstein? I would like to see the autopsy records that show what specific steps were taken during the autopsy to determine that the body was actually Jeffrey Epstein. It was reported that during the autopsy, they took fingernail clippings from the body to test for DNA. But then they refused to turn over the DNA evidence to Jeffrey Epstein's brother, who has been arguing against the results of the autopsy. Why wouldn't they release the DNA? In this new batch of documents received by Pam Bondi, I did not hear any mention that she received Jeffrey Epstein's fingernail clippings. Where are the fingernail clippings? The reason that people started to doubt whether the body was really Jeffrey Epstein was because a reporter snapped this photo of the body during the autopsy. Now I want you to put your detective hats on, because we are going to look at the evidence. When we compare the photo during the autopsy to a documented photo of Jeffrey Epstein, there appears to be differences. The nose from the autopsy photo appears to be more hooked, and it looks like there are structural changes in the ears. What do you think? Does this look like the same person to you? The claim that Jeffrey Epstein's body was swapped for someone else has been officially fact-checked by the mainstream media. The fact-checkers claim that the photos people are using to compare are 15 years old, and any changes in the dead body can be explained with age. What do you think? Can someone's nose go from being straight to being hooked over a 15-year period? Did Jeffrey Epstein get a nose job in prison that we don't know about? What is even stranger is that about a week after Jeffrey Epstein's death, someone was taking drone footage from Jeffrey Epstein's island. Now I'm going to freeze the video here. Do you notice anything? I'm going to zoom in. The video captured a man that looks remarkably similar to Jeffrey Epstein. What do you think? Is Jeffrey Epstein still alive? Who is that man? Why is there a man that looks like Jeffrey Epstein on his island after he is supposed to be dead? What is going on? Then there was a second sighting. In New Mexico, independent journalist named ABQ Raw went to take video at Jeffrey Epstein's property called Zorro Ranch. While they were there, a man drove up in a red truck, and he had a striking resemblance to Jeffrey Epstein. What do you think? I'm showing you the videos so that you can see for yourself. Does this look like Jeffrey Epstein? Again, this claim has been fact-checked by the mainstream media as not true. But the evidence that the fact-checkers used to debunk the claims of these sightings is the New York autopsy report determining that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. I'm starting to question these fact-checkers. No rational person thinks that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Now again, I am not claiming that I know whether Jeffrey Epstein is alive or not. I don't know if he was secretly working with the CIA and they helped him to fake his own death. We just don't know. But what we should be able to find out is what was recorded in the autopsy records of the exact steps that were taken to determine that the dead body was actually Jeffrey Epstein. Where are those documents? So I will ask again, Pam Bondi, did you get Jeffrey Epstein's fingernail clippings? Another problem with the Jeffrey Epstein files is Ghislaine Maxwell. She is currently in prison. But here's the problem. If the FBI withheld evidence during her trial, she can file for appeal and overturn her conviction. If the FBI didn't turn over documents to Pam Bondi, I am betting they did not turn over documents to Ghislaine Maxwell. This would make it really easy for her to win on appeal, because it is so unfair for the government to hide evidence during someone's trial. After all of this, Ghislaine Maxwell might walk free. If I were Pam Bondi, I would work out a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell. I would first identify who are the worst 5 offenders you want to prosecute for the Epstein crimes, and then I would tell Ghislaine, I will let you skip the arduous appeal process and walk free right now if you testify against these 5 people. I know that no one wants to see Ghislaine Maxwell go free, but this is a horrible situation, and this might be the best outcome to at least hold some people accountable. The other problem is the Seth Rich files. Just like the Epstein files, they have not been released. Seth Rich was an employee of the Democratic National Committee who was murdered under mysterious circumstances. Some believe that he was responsible for leaking DNC emails to WikiLeaks before Hillary Clinton's 2016 election.
DNC staffer Seth Rich, who was murdered last summer. A federal investigator telling Fox News that an FBI forensic report of Rich's computer showed he made contact with WikiLeaks through a former reporter and London-based WikiLeaks director, Gavin McFadden. The investigator told Fox News Rich provided McFadden with more than 44,000 emails, nearly 18,000 attachments. Rich was murdered near his D.C. home on the morning of July 10th. But his wallet, his cell phone, his watch not taken. WikiLeaks 12 days later published internal emails showing top DNC officials trading ideas on how to hurt Senator Bernie Sanders at the polls, and those emails resulting in the resignation of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is the chair of the DNC.
The conspiracy theory is that he was killed by the Clintons for leaking the emails. Again, all the fact-check websites by the mainstream media have debunked this as a conspiracy theory. They claim that Seth Rich was murdered in an unrelated attempted robbery, even though his wallet was found on his body. Here is my question. If there was nothing suspicious about his murder, why won't the FBI release any of their files related to Seth Rich's death? Isn't that suspicious? Attorney Ty Clevenger has been battling for years for the FBI to release these documents as public records. They were supposed to be released on March 10th. Instead, he was just notified the FBI is refusing to turn over the records. Instead, they're going to send him a list of documents with an explanation for their concealment. If there is nothing suspicious about Seth Rich's death, why is the FBI hiding these records? Does that make any sense to you? Now, the people who handle these information requests are normally low-level FBI staff, so I am betting that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi don't even know about this. But I'm hoping they find out and provide some transparency about what is going on. Just like Jeffrey Epstein, we need to know what happened to Seth Rich. Let me ask you something else. Am I the only person who thinks it is strange that all these people related to the Clintons keep dying in mysterious ways? I don't get it. And just for the record, if something happens to me after I post this video, I did not commit suicide. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Pam Bondi should resign, or should we give her some more time? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. Also, these videos take a lot of time and research to put together. If you find these videos helpful, consider signing up for a monthly membership on my website, wolvesandfinance.com. For $6 a month, your support helps me to keep making these videos. Thank you to everyone who has signed up. I'm Zach from Wolves and Finance. Thank you for watching.